Hey friends, today I'm going to be talking about the United States electrical grid. What happens when the power goes out, why electrical companies are turning off the power, and what you can do when the power goes out at your place. The United States electrical grid is a complex product. Right now, Pacific Gas and Electric is busy turning off power in the San Francisco Bay Area to stop more wildfires from being initiated by power line faults. The U.S. electricity generation and delivery system is managed by 3 regional interconnections, 8 regional entities, 8 independent system operators, and 4 regional transmission organizations. That's a lot of complication. There's work going on to try to modernize this, but it's not here yet. We live in the Western Interconnect region. Unfortunately, a lot of the fires that are going on in California are also in the Western Interconnect region. A shield wire helps protect transmission lines from lightning strikes. Insulators isolate the power lines from the structure holding them up. Conductors carry the power from one place to another. Transmission lines are designed and maintained to keep the vegetation from striking a conductor, knocking out power, or starting a fire. Distribution lines supply power to neighborhoods and businesses. Well, we've just gone through a description about how the electrical infrastructure works in the U.S. In fact, much of the world has the same kind of structure. So what we said here will apply many other places. In the U.S., we have interconnection between the mainland U.S., Canada, and northern Mexico. So we already have international involvement. Now, what happens when the power goes out? Well, obviously, you don't have any electricity. What do? Well, let's start with trying to make sure that your food stays safe. This is one of your best friends. It's a water bottle. What I do is I'll put these water bottles into the freezer and freeze them up. A full freezer is a safe freezer. Water bottles, single-serving water bottles are nice, but you can also use larger volume. This is 1 gallon of drinking water. I like this shape because it packs tightly into the deep freeze. Our freezer right now is full, so there's really not room in it for this kind of cold ballast. The point is you put these in the freezer, freeze it, and you leave it there until you need space for something else. Then you take this out and put your food in. It's simple. What it does is to save your food when the power goes out, or if the power goes out. You don't want to lose thousands of dollars of meat or other food out of a deep freeze just because the power went out. It's a simple precaution. In a deep freeze, a good supply of these water bottles will keep your food good for days. Just don't open the freezer. Now you can do the same thing with the refrigerator, and maybe what I might do is I might actually have some extra bottles in the deep freeze, and if the power goes out and it's out for a few hours, I might take some of these frozen bottles and put them in the refrigerator. So the refrigerator now acts like an old style ice box. Again, the trick is you don't want to be opening the doors very often, because every time you do, the cold comes out of the box to be replaced by warm air, which then has to be cooled again. what do you do about cell phones? Let's suppose that the power goes out, but you still have cell service. Well, one thing you can use are these kind of little batteries. These are a lithium-ion battery. This one right here, I think, cost us about $20, and it supplies 10,000 milliamp hours, or 10 amp hours of power. This is good to recharge my iPhone probably 4 or 5 times. It also has a solar panel so that I can put it into the sun and recharge it using solar power. We have another kind of battery that we've talked about before. This is also a lithium-ion battery. It has a series of USB ports on it. It can be connected to the battery with a larger USB connector and to your device using a lightning connector for iPhones or a USB-C or USB-B connection to go to other devices. This battery is good for 6 or 8 recharges of my phone. It also can recharge tablets. Now, if we don't have power, we're not likely to have desktop computers running. In fact, we don't run our laptops if the power goes out here. Well, for us, the power going out means that something's gone wrong with our solar system. It doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while we have a little bit of a glitch that we need to take care of. So these batteries help with that situation. If you live in the suburbs, it might be possible for you to install a backup generator. A lot of times these run from natural gas that's supplied by the city and then supplies power to your house through a transfer switch. Now, in a city or the suburbs, chances are very good it's going to be a bit of a logistical nightmare and a bit of a problem when it comes to permits. A lot of municipalities aren't real keen on backup generators. One reason is a lot of people don't install them correctly. And what happens is you run that generator, it backfeeds the entire power grid in your neighborhood, and when a line worker is trying to reestablish electrical connection to your neighborhood, he can get electrocuted. So that's the basic reason why a lot of people don't want to use them. If it's installed properly with a transfer switch, it's not a problem. If you're going to install that kind of a generator, my strong recommendation is get a competent electrician who has done these installations before to assist in the project. If you live off-grid like we do, we have a mobile generator. It's about a 7,000 watt generator. It runs on gas or propane. I keep both on hand. It's a pull start or electric start. It works great, but I have a separate connection from that generator to my power system. It goes in where the normal line main would go in. That is, it goes in where the 120 would come from the grid, if I had the grid, but I don't. So I just normally operate off solar power, and when I need a little bit something extra, I'll start the generator and run that for a little while. So those are a few things that you can do. Now let's talk about phones. You know, in the old days, if you picked up the phone when the power was out, you still had a dial tone. You could call people. Phones worked just fine, unless the lines were physically knocked down. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work because so many companies have replaced copper with fiber optics. Fiber optics don't conduct electricity. It'll conduct light just fine, which is what it's designed to do, but forget it when it comes to electricity. So, if the power goes out, you're not likely to have a landline that actually functions. So you're going to be back reliant on your cell phone. Now there's some other things that you probably don't think about in your home or in your homestead that require electricity to operate. Hot water heaters. If you have an on-demand hot water heater, it requires some electricity to fire up the propane or natural gas. If you have an electric hot water heater, you're out of luck. There's no power, there's no hot water. So hot water is one issue. Obviously, you don't have lights in your home if there's a power outage. You can take care of that by using small electric lanterns. I recommend electric lanterns as opposed to oil lanterns. We have oil lanterns, we have oil. We just use the electric ones on the few times that we want some additional lighting and don't want to turn on the main house lights. How about electricity for your washing machine or your dryer? They both have an electric motor. They both require electricity to run. If you don't have electricity, they're not going to run. Now, normally you think about electricity being off for an hour or a few hours or perhaps the better part of a day or even an entire day. But recently, in the past several years, power has gone out for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes more. And what do you do for water? What do you do for heat? What do you do for cooking? Now, if you have a gas range like we have, the gas doesn't require electricity to run, except most modern ovens use a glow bar. That requires electricity. That heats up a bar so that it ignites the propane or natural gas. No electricity, no glow bar. That's only a problem for the oven. You can still light the surface burners using a match or a lighter. But you're not going to have a range hood, so you need to think about what you're cooking. If you have an electric range, you're out of luck. Now, we have friends right now who are busy using their camp stoves to cook meals. That'll work just fine if it's a propane stove, but you don't want to be trying to use that propane to heat your house. Well, these are a few suggestions about how to deal with power outages when it happens to you. It can happen because of fires like California. It can happen because of ice storms that have happened in South Carolina, or snowstorms in Maine or Montana. It can be down power lines because of trees hitting the power lines. It can be any one of a number of different reasons. And one of the things to keep in mind is that the electrical parts that are used to power the grid are not off-the-shelf components. When a transformer goes, a lot of times that requires weeks for a special transformer to be built and shipped to the location. So just because the power's always come back on, don't fool yourself. It could go out for a while. It could go out for a long while. Well, I hope this little talk has been of interest to you and it will help when power goes out at your place. If you like what I talked about here, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and hit the notification bell so that you get alerts when we publish something new. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, friends. Bye.